friends, welcome to another fun-filled episode of Attorney Session Reacts. I'm your host, Attorney Marcus Session. Today we're going to discuss a couple things. We're going to discuss the Bronny James draft coverage, and we're going to also discuss briefly what happened in this horrible presidential debate. So let's get right into it. So anyone who knows me knows that I'm not a LeBron James fan. That takes nothing away from my ability to be able to assess a player. Oh, by the way, I used to be a professional basketball player. I also was a professional pro scout at the NBA level and also internationally. So I kind of know what I'm talking about when it comes to this. We're going to watch what some of the guys on First Take had to say about the draft coverage from Bronny James, who was drafted with the number 55 overall pick. To the LA Lakers, of course, the same team his father plays for, and we all know why he's there. But we're going to hear from these individuals, then I'm going to give you my small take on it, and we're going to go from there.
Never seen something like this, Bronny and LeBron James, teammates in Los Angeles.
Listen, and, Bob talked about this, Bronny James, the way he has worked, the way he has prepared himself, there's never been any sense of entitlement with him. He has never carried himself that way on every team he's been on, whether it was in high school, travel basketball.
Okay, there has been a sense of entitlement. If you followed this kid throughout his career, there has been a sense of entitlement. Let's stop with that. This is how the media creates narratives. And again, nothing against the kid. He's just not an NBA player. He's not ready to be in the NBA.
With the U.S. team last year in the Nike Summit, only a great teammate. Guys love playing with him, and it says so much about how he was raised, how he sees the game, what he learned from not just his father, being around the NBA game. There are lots of sons and daughters of NBA players who've learned those traits. He's another one, but again, to not just be able to play with LeBron James in the NBA, but to do it while his father is still an all-NBA player.
I believe that yes, you're around the game enough. You learn the traits. You learn how to act and move like an NBA player. I agree with that. I concede with that.
Nobody left from LeBron James's draft class. They're all gone. And he's still an all-NBA player.
I think one of the important things to bring up is what you brought up in regards to the nepotism, because I don't want to hear it either, and I really appreciate and applaud you for bringing it up, because you hear people mumbling about that in the weeks and the days leading up to the draft. It is something that has permeated throughout the NBA for quite some time, okay, and on all levels, and no one has said anything. It's never been an issue that I can remember. I've been covering the NBA for a quarter of a century. This man has been around just as long, if not longer. Don't talk to me about nepotism being something new. It's been here.
Here's the only issue I have with what Stephen A. is saying. Yes, other Suns players have been drafted into the NBA, but other Suns players have had the NBA metrics. Other Suns players were assessed by veteran NBA scouts just like Bronny James was. Tim Hardaway Jr. was assessed just like Bronny James was. Austin Rivers was assessed just like Bronny James was. Steph and Seth Curry were assessed just like Bronny James were. And NBA scouts did not conclude that those players were not NBA players. NBA scouts, veteran NBA scouts, several of them, I know 4 of them personally, they all have concluded after the draft combine that Bronny James is not an NBA player. He doesn't have the physical attributes to be an NBA player because you can't place him in a position. He's truly 6'1" after being listed 6'4". He's athletic, but he can't shoot the ball well enough to be a shooting guard. He can't handle the ball and run a team well enough to be a point guard, and he's 6'1". That's an issue in the NBA when most point guards you're going to run into are 6'5". Most shooting guards you're going to run into are 6'8", 6'7". So that's an issue in the NBA. The body size, the metrics. Yes, he has the physical athleticism because, that's genetic. Look how athletic his father is. But we're talking about the other metrics that they look into. Now, if each scout has concluded he's not an NBA player, but the team his father plays for decides to draft him with the pick that they could have chosen someone else that probably could have really helped the team, then what do you call that?
Nobody said anything before. Shut the hell up now.
Well, here's the thing. People have been saying stuff, Stephen A., so you shut the hell up.
I want to zero back in, though, on Bronny James because this is monumental, it's historic, and we're going to get to see Bronny James on the floor for the first time in Summer League. But
I agree with that. It's monumental and it's historic. But here's the deal: you forced history to happen. You forced it to happen. It's not like it occurred naturally. That's like me saying I'm going to have a birthday party and I'm going to invite 100 guests, but I'm going to pay them to come, and then I'm going to celebrate myself and pay them to celebrate me when they come to my birthday party that I paid them to come to. No, you're forcing it. It's not natural. It's not genuine. It's not authentic because absent you being who you are in LeBron James and absent you being a member of the Los Angeles Lakers organization, they would not have drafted your son. Yeah, it's monumental. It's historic. Who wouldn't want to play with their kid in the NBA, right? Hell, I wish my daughter could at least have seen me play. She was born long after I retired. But you're forcing the issue. That's my point. You're forcing the issue for a kid who's not ready. Now, I agree, he'll be playing with you, so you can set him up in ways, him going to other teams won't set him up, right? You can make sure he gets his shots. You can make sure he stays on the court because it's tough in the life of a rookie in the NBA, right? It's tough trying to make your own name. Well, now he doesn't have to do that. So I do get that he, you circumvented the process for your son to get acclimated to the NBA. And if you're going to put him in this kind of situation, hey, I guess that's the best way you do it. But as a student of the game from since I was age 5, as a former player, as someone who loved the art in the game of basketball, I think this is a complete mockery of the game, right? At least you could have done, and I would have been okay with this. And now, of course, not that my opinion matters, but at least you could have set your son up on a two-way contract and let him develop through the G League. If you really want him to turn into a pro player, allow him to develop through the G League, which I think will give him the confidence to be able to step into an NBA role later on. On to more serious news. Who saw that monstrosity of a debate between our two presidential candidates, the two individuals we have allowed to be chosen to be candidates to be our next president for the next 4 years? It's a sad time to be an American right now. And as proud as an American that I am, it's sad for me that these are our two choices for president of these United States of America. Clip that's going to show highlights from the debate from last night, and I'll add a little comment.
Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I support Roe v. Wade. He can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth. That is simple.
There's never been an abortion policy that allowed for a baby to be aborted at the 9th month. First, I would like to say Don lied a lot last night. And second, I would like to say it was sad to see our current president and hear him talk. He asked for this debate. His camp asked for this debate, and he went out, and it was a total fail. And I'm very disappointed. The two didn't really remember specifically. They were both asked a question about the rising costs in childcare and what they're going to do to alleviate that. And my response would have been tax incentives for the working class and individuals, who need tax incentives or who qualify for tax incentives for childcare. They didn't go there. They didn't go there. These two individuals just started, berating one another and talking about how the other one is bad and not going to do as good a job as they were, which is a total deflection and not what the
Not true. We are not for late-term abortion, period, with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look.
Okay, so I've always said it before. The problem with the Democratic Party is messaging. And the problem with Joe Biden specifically is that he doesn't address the American people. And now we see why he doesn't address the American people, because he doesn't want to be seen as incompetent. But the proof is in the pudding. Why would you put this man out there in a debate against Donald Trump when you know, and luckily for the muted mics, they weren't able to talk over one another, or Donald wasn't able to talk over Joe. So this was a really sad night for the Democratic Party, and it was a really sad night for Joe.
We had the safest border in history.
Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it.
There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total.
I'm sorry. That's not who's going to run the country. Nuclear launch codes will be in the possession of this guy.
Initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon, is the man.
That was true.
Right now.
That's absolutely true. And Donald didn't answer any questions last night. You know, for the entire night for him, even though he seemed very competent and coherent, the entire night for him was, you know, pretty much trashing Joe Biden, right? These two sounded like two rival cousins at a family reunion or a barbecue that just can't stop being competitive. At one point, they were talking about, you know, golfing against one another. At another point, they were talking about, you know, IQ tests and how, you know, each of them could pass the test and the other one couldn't. The shit was ridiculous to watch.
As soon as he gets out of office, he caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families.
There was no inflation.
Inflation is killing everyone, and there is inflation. There has been inflation since Joseph Biden has been in office. And yes, inflation naturally occurs over time. It's just, that's simple economics, right? $1 isn't going to be worth the same today as it was 30 years ago. It's the bottom line. But the rate of inflation is the problem. The rate of inflation and other economic factors in terms of policy that a president pushes or a policy rolled out during a president's tenure in office, those policies can drive inflation a lot quicker. That's how it can relate back to a president's performance.
When I became president, you know why? The economy was flat on its back. 50% unemployment. He decimated the economy. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world.
Donald's face.
The only one who wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job.
The only existential threat to humanity is climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants
the other existential threat to humanity is humanity.
Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion. It was a ripoff of the United States. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp.
You don't fire people just to fire people. You fire people if they aren't doing their damn jobs. You fire people if they're putting other people in harm's way. You fire people if they're committing crimes. You don't fire people just to fire people.
He hasn't fired anybody. He's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country.
Presidential historians, they've had meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history. One through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history.
He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
The only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again.
We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America.
We heard nothing in terms of policy at all last night. There was nothing spoken about policy, what they intend to do about immigration, what they intend to do about issues of abortion, what they intend to do about foreign policy. We heard nothing specific to any of those effects. So I think these two individuals wasted our damn time, and I'm not looking forward to the next election cycle. Thursday, June 27, 2024 was a very interesting night on a lot of ends, from sports to politics, which are those things I love to talk about. Sport ticks. Maybe I'll start a podcast called the Sport Ticks Podcast. Who knows? But thank you guys for always tuning in. Please like and subscribe to the page, to the content. I always try to have something fresh for you guys. And until next time, take it easy, my friends.
Let's go.